Hi, my name's Shota.
And I'm Amber.
And welcome to Kotatsu Club Podcast.
Where we talk about studying languages and other stuff too. So Shota, what are we talking about today?
Okay, so I need to ask you a very important question.
Okay.
Do you need to speak Japanese to live in Japan or Tokyo?
Good question.
Yeah.
So I guess technically you don't need it. I would say you can survive and exist in Japan without speaking Japanese.
Okay.
Especially in Tokyo. I actually find it difficult living in Tokyo to find opportunities when I can use Japanese.
Oh.
Like outside of official situations.
So you even go there
Yeah.
to say it's actually hard to find an opportunity to speak Japanese.
In Tokyo.
Okay.
So in Tokyo, there's so many people who speak English.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of tourists here. So if you live here, people will not know whether you live here or you're a tourist. So
True.
the automatic assumption is that you don't speak Japanese. And a lot of times the automatic response is you will be handed an English menu. That happened to us the other day. We literally asked for a Japanese menu and they gave us an English menu anyway. They'll just automatically give you an English menu. And sometimes they'll even automatically speak to you in Japanese. A lot of times if I'm at the store, they won't. But there are some times where they do. And I'm always thrown off by it every time. I'm just like, okay, how do I respond now?
Yeah.
Do I just go into English or I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So the only times that I really have to use Japanese is in official situations, like when I'm at the shiakusho, the city hall.
Okay.
Yesterday I went to pick up my number card and I did that all in Japanese. And you can always see like the person who's about to help you, they're always like, "Nihongo daijoubu desu ka?" Like they're always like a little worried at first, and then when you're like, "Daijoubu desu," they're always like, "Ah, great." But besides those official situations that like paperwork things and like going to the konbini, it's kind of hard to find situations in which you have to use Japanese or like you can use Japanese. So I would say you don't need Japanese to live in Japan.
Okay.
But I don't think that means that you shouldn't learn Japanese.
Right. I feel like those are completely different questions.
Yeah,
right?
because I think your life in Japan will be much better if you can speak Japanese.
Okay.
It'll open up a lot more opportunities.
In what ways? Like, can you give me an example?
Yeah, so for example, when I was living in Kyoto, I was looking for a share house because I was a student and I was looking for somewhere to live. And sorry, by the way, there is like gardening going on outside.
Yeah.
And
I think this
loud.
like a lumberjack guy is like trying to like chopping down wood or something.
Yeah, he's
with a
literally chopping
chainsaw.
wood with a chainsaw. But
I don't
anyway.
think it's that bad though. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully you guys can't hear it too much. We apologize.
Yeah.
But what was I saying? I was saying...
So you were saying...
Kyoto.
Kyoto.
So in Kyoto, when I was looking for an apartment, I found this awesome share house, but it said in the like requirements that you have to speak Japanese to be considered for this share house.
Interesting.
And it was really good share house. It was in an old renovated machiya, so it was like really beautiful and it had a washitsu room, which I really like.
Yeah.
Tatami floors. And it was all girls, which I liked, and it was all Japanese girls, so I would have had a really good opportunity to practice speaking Japanese every day. And because I was able to speak Japanese, I was able to apply for that share house.
Right.
And I got in, and I was able to live there for a year and a half, and it was a really, really great experience. So that's one instance where speaking Japanese was like kind of essential to my experience of living here. Other than that, a lot of times I get job offers through social media, like for social media promotions and stuff in Japanese. And a lot of them ask or require that you speak Japanese to be able to do it.
Okay.
So that's another time that speaking Japanese has helped me.
I really like that your like share house kind of like not forces you to speak in Japanese, but like you remember last time, if you haven't checked out the previous episode, check it out. But like you remember you talked about how if you see a person with like higher level of English and obviously you speak English and like you kind of like shy away from speaking to that person in Japanese because like why would I have to?
Yeah.
But then like if there was like a rule like that implemented that kind of like makes it easier for everybody to like practice Japanese.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like that. I really hope like I think there should be more places like that.
It was a good experience for me. I got to speak Japanese every day. No one actually spoke English in the house, so
Even better.
yeah, it was really, really good for me. If you can find that kind of experience, definitely recommend it, but you will have to have some Japanese first. And I think the requirements were just conversational level. At the time, I was probably low intermediate, and I was still able to get accepted. So yeah, I think it will enhance your experience here. You'll be able to make more connections, especially if you're living in the countryside. So in Tokyo, you really don't need English because everyone speaks English. Exhibit A. But in the countryside, there'll be less people who speak English, and if you do want to make friends with people who are from the area you're living in, you will have to speak Japanese. And when I lived in Kochi, I was able to make a lot of friends when I was practicing Japanese. I think you don't have to, but it is nice. I also think it's kind of like nice to learn the language of the country you're living in.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
no matter
that's
what
gonna
country it
make
is.
everybody else feel more comfortable around you.
Yeah.
I think being able to speak in Japanese in Japan is gonna make you a lot more approachable. You know, it means like, oh, you're interested in the culture and the language, and you're trying to like understand us, you know, as a people. So yeah.
Yeah, I think learning a language, it takes a lot of time and dedication, and you really have to like love it to like do it. And yeah, I think it shows like a deep appreciation for the culture and the country you're living in, and I think people, yeah, kind of respect that.
Okay.
In a way. But yeah, what's your experience? Do you feel like you had to learn English living in the US?
Yeah, in America it's different. Yeah. You
no one speaks Japanese.
Yeah,
there,
nobody speaks Japanese unless like you're in like a very particular part of like Hawaii, San Francisco, and like New York.
You can
maybe.
find people who speak Japanese, but in general, you're not going to go to the store and they'll be like, konnichiwa, like
Yeah,
you know,
like they're not gonna hand you like a Japanese menu or something. Like well, okay, but I think it's the opposite because America is a country of immigrants. So like at a DMV and stuff like that. Yeah, like I was able to take driver's test
in Japanese.
Not that I did, but
yeah,
like,
you don't need that.
No, because like road signs are in English, but you know you could if you wanted to. I think the option. Also, like I was in Northern California, so like more people spoke like Chinese, Arabic, Spanish kind of thing. So these three were definitely an option, and I think I was able to take the test in Japanese as well, and I think Korean was an option as well. But in everyday life, it's the opposite. I feel like, you know, at a restaurant, yeah, of course you have to be able to like order in English, be able to read in English. Sometimes people like come up to you and like tell you to speak in English, you know.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Not in California, but you know, some other parts of America, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's gonna like put you in a spot to I'm not like justifying it, but then it definitely like a drive you to learn the language, so like that's good in a way.
Yeah, I think it's definitely much easier if you're from Japan and you want to learn English and you go to the US because you can't rely on Japanese. Like, you have to like you're kind of forced to learn English if you want to do daily life there.
Yeah. So yeah, in a way, like I think it's like much easier for, let's say, a Japanese person to learn English in America compared to an American person trying to learn Japanese in Japan.
Yeah, I think so, because as like a foreign person living in Japan, no one's going to really speak Japanese to you because they're going to assume you don't speak Japanese, whereas in the US, they will assume you speak English and they'll always try to speak English to you. So yeah, I think there's probably pros and cons to both of those situations.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like I'm gonna come clean, but like if I didn't know you and if I saw you on the street, like my first instinct like I maybe like assume you're a tourist, you know, I'm probably gonna like talk to you in English. And if I was like working at a restaurant, like I probably would hand you an English menu, to be honest. So but we're learning, you know, so that's an important part, I think.
I think the best restaurant situations are when they ask you, they're like, do you want like Japanese menu or English menu?
Yeah, that's true.
And when they actually like respect your answer. Like when we went to the cafe the other day and she like gave us an English menu anyway, that was just kind of like, okay, like did you not hear us say, like you said it in Japanese too, like I don't know, maybe she thought like I needed the English menu, but I get it. I try not to be offended when I'm handling an English menu. It makes sense, right? Because in Japan, I think it's like 2% of the population are foreigners, and of that
something
2%,
like that,
the percentage that are Westerners are like maybe like less than 1%.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they would assume I'm a tourist.
Yeah, it's still pretty rare to see non-Asian person outside of Tokyo. Also, like as a Japanese person, you know, like go on everyday life, like you never interact with a foreign person, you know, like if you're like an ordinary Japanese person, that's a never an occurrence.
Yeah.
You know, for most people, I would say like 90% of people are like that. So they just don't know what to do with you.
Yeah.
So,
I definitely get it. Like I don't get offended when people speak English to me or give me an English menu, but it definitely like as someone who's learning the language and wants to learn it, it definitely is like, oh,
I know.
I don't want this.
I know. Yeah, no.
But like at the same time, I don't blame them for it, and like I get it.
I think you can though, because hey, you know, like we don't really appreciate that. But then I guess like there are other people that would appreciate that as well. I don't know. So
if I was a tourist, I'd be so happy.
That's
great.
True. Yeah.
English menu, cool. I don't have to like struggle or worry. You know, like I get it. Like I don't get. There is definitely a little part of me that's like. But I don't like hold them accountable for it. I don't like get mad at them. I just kind of get mad at the situation.
But then at the same time, like if Japanese people don't start to like, hey, you know, like you're in Japan, you know, here, you know, it's a menu that we use. That's the only menu. And otherwise, like people won't like be like driven to learn the language.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like it's not necessarily more option the better, you know. Because for example, like if I go to like Italy or something, and if there was like a Japanese menu available everywhere, I'm probably gonna get like turned off by that. Right? I was like, I'm in like Italy, like I wanna not be understand Italian, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, maybe we don't need this much English.
I think also,
I don't know.
Though, like kanji is hard, right?
True.
So I think usually even when I'm speaking Japanese and like having a full conversation with someone in Japanese, we're not speaking any English, like no problems in our conversation. When they find out, like maybe I'll like read something, when they see that I can read, they're so surprised. I feel like you were even surprised when you saw me like reading. Yeah. Thing like when we went to Kamakura and I was like reading the like description about the Buddha.
Is that something you do?
I'm gonna lie, like I don't know you can read. No, we were literate. When they're handing you an English menu, like the percentage of foreigners who speak Japanese is small. The percentage of foreigners who can read Japanese is probably even smaller. Like I get it. And
there are even fewer people that can read kanji. You know, in everyday life, I would assume non-Japanese people don't read kanji unless they're like from like Chinese-speaking countries. But yeah, I don't know. But I need to rewire that. I feel like, and so do a lot of people. So I think it's important to like meet everybody in the middle. You know. We're gonna try, guys.
That reminds me of like a quick funny story of when I was in Kochi.
What is it?
And I had a friend who was like an English teacher from Australia, but he was Chinese Australian. And we went out like to lunch one day and we're ordering, but he couldn't speak any Japanese or read any Japanese. So he was 0%. Like he was there to teach English for 1 year. He wasn't really interested in like learning Japanese. But me, I was like a language nerd, and so like I'm going to speak Japanese, but because he is Asian, so the waiter always just like looks at him to order, and then I would be like, and I would be ordering for both of us because he would ask me to do that.
Zero Japanese,
and he just moved to Japan, so like it was like, I'm sure even if you don't speak Japanese, after a while you know how to order, like by pointing to things and saying "kore kudasai." But he was even before that level of just like, I just got here, like what do I do? And so I was the one who had to order, and like literally I would be speaking and like they would be like looking at him like, what do I do? They're gonna be like glitching. That was like a funny experience.
like I've heard that story so many times.
It's definitely a common thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a common thing. But so on the street, your first instinct to speaking in English to non-Asian looking person, like that I can understand. But that I don't understand. Because if I was working at a restaurant or something and there were two people, a non-Asian looking person and an Asian looking person, yeah, maybe like I'll talk to an Asian looking person first.
You assume that they're Japanese.
Because statistically, yeah, I mean, there's a higher chance that this person is going to speak better Japanese, right? And in worst case scenario, it's either nobody speaks Japanese or everybody speaks Japanese. Yeah, so it's all good, right? Statistically, right? So I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? However, if you're Italian, so I'm just gonna say Italian, but this Italian-looking person starts to speak in Japanese, then I would talk to this person.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that's like real puzzling.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a countryside occurrence, right? This doesn't really happen in Tokyo.
Yeah, but I'm a boonie though.
I know, but you live in Tokyo for a reason.
That's true.
That's what happens.
Yeah. So weird.
Okay, so yeah, I think you don't need Japanese to live in Japan, but it definitely will enhance your experience and it will make everyone around you
it really
happier
does.
as
It
well.
makes a massive difference. Yeah.
But what about perfecting Japanese? So I think a lot of people want to be like sound native, and maybe you have this on the reverse side too, speaking English. What do you think? Like, is it beneficial to aim for native level? Is that something you need to do, or is it like what do you think about that?
So if you see a language learning as like a lifelong thing, and like if you a type of person that wants something that you can pursue for the rest of your life, because here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
You're a native speaker of English and I'm not. Like I started learning English as an adult, so I'm not gonna reach that level no matter how much I desire to, right? So it's a fact, but I'm okay with that. I can live with it, right? So for me, trying to like reach for the star or moon, however the expression goes, like it's good for me.
Wait, actually, I don't know. Is it reach for the moon?
I say reach for the moon, but
reach for the stars.
yeah, see, even you're not
One of
perfect.
those.
Yeah, right? So I'm not perfect. So
I think we use both of them. I think that's why
I think so.
we're
Yeah, I mean,
confused.
it's both tie up, so it makes sense
one,
as an expression. But anyways, so, but if you're the type of person like who wants some type of like closure,
yeah.
if you like, or sense of like
you want to like reach your goal and
reach
done,
your goal,
cross the finish line, you're done studying.
Yeah, then I think that's gonna be like a real challenge for you, like mentally, if you're like trying to like reach that level, because you're never gonna, you can get like really, really close to, right? But like, because like I've seen like people that speak Japanese like near native level, and I'm like, are you sure you're not from Japan? And they're like, nah,
Yeah.
So but then if you talk to them long enough, then they're like, oh, okay, this person is not a native speaker. So yeah, it's whether like you're okay with it or not.
Yeah, I think it's definitely it's like between fluency and native. So I would say you're completely fluent in English. I think you can trick most people into thinking you were from the US. Like
Minnesota.
We have a joke that I always say he's from Minnesota or Michigan or any random M state when we go meet new people.
Yeah.
And they believe it because you
for like a good 5 minutes.
I would argue like it's easy to just believe
10 minutes?
it
10 minutes.
for a lot of minutes.
15 minutes.
All the minutes. The only time that I can realize that you're not native is if I say some super colloquial, like before I was saying like a childhood poem.
Oh yeah.
Like that you're literally not going to know unless you were raised in the US.
Right. So references are hard.
So I would say that's probably the only difference between like high fluency and native level.
Okay.
But yeah, I do think I see it as like a lifelong thing, learning Japanese.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I'll ever feel like I've learned enough Japanese and I could stop studying.
But are you okay with it? like, have you made peace with it?
Yeah, I have. But I still, like, I have the goal to, like, get to that level where you said, like, there's someone who you're like, oh, are you sure you're not raised in Japan?
Yeah.
Like, the level you're at with
Yeah.
English, like, that's where I want to get with
Yeah.
Japanese. But I don't think I'll feel like I'm done then. I'll like, keep going. There is, like, some interesting things, though, where, like, with accent, when people want to, like, perfect accents, do you think that's important?
Yeah, I think it's definitely important, but I have, like, mixed feeling about that.
Same.
Yeah, because it's more for show, you know, like it's more for, because I've been there, done that, right? I really wanted to talk like an American person. I do now.
So what did you do to get your accent so good?
I shadowed, like shadowing is the king. You just copy, well, not like Netflix shadowing, but like,
What did you shadow?
what did you shadow?
What did you shadow?
What did you shadow?
What did you really shadow?
What did you really shadow? I'm doing shadowing right now. This is literally what I did, right?
Okay.
You know, people talk to me and
You would just repeat people, like when
no,
you're
not
having
in not
conversations?
in their face, but like whenever, like, I don't know, like a waiter comes around and, hey, how are ya? You know, and inside my head, hey, how are ya? You know, kind of thing. So I say that all the time, right?
So you didn't like watch anything and shadow it?
I don't like sitting down and like watch stuff, like rewind. Like I just wanna. So yeah, I'm a product of people surrounded me,
Okay.
right? So like, if you're watching this, Z from Fremont, California, you know, this is for you. But I talk exactly like him. I talk like him.
Okay.
Like I want you to talk to him
Wow.
because you're gonna feel like you're talking to me.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So
You have a talent. It's not fair.
I don't know, but yeah, it's fun. So you know, and it works. It works. You know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, like I said, it's for a show. So like I felt like I was doing that to like gain respect, not to communicate better.
I see.
Because to communicate better, yeah, you have to like you have to get to a level where like you can be easily understood without stress, for sure. But then above that, it's completely unnecessary, right? For like smooth communication. I think I probably should have worked on like better articulation, better like sentence structure, you know, learning Gen Z slangs and
I don't know if I agree though,
No, no,
because
no, no.
your English is so good. Like I don't see how you could better articulate or better have sentence structure. I think you're just being modest Japanese.
but like if you do speak multiple languages and if you're not comfortable in one language as the other, like I'm pretty sure if you're watching this you can absolutely understand what I'm saying, but like this is still a huge gap between a native speaker and me, and it occurs every day. Like something you say, I was like, oh wow, that's like so much better way to say the same thing. Like I'm gonna copy it. That's the beauty, you know, ladies and gentlemen, of learning a language. You just literally learn every single day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm genuinely feel like there's so much more to learn, and like I learn from you every day. I learn from my friends every day. You know?
Yeah, so Shota's top tip is make friends in
Yes.
your target language.
Yes, and shadow or
Yeah.
copy.
Yeah, I actually I wonder like if you should not wait to perfect your accent, but maybe not focusing on perfecting your accent is like the number one thing. Because I mean, I'll never have this problem as like someone who looks like so not like I'm supposed to speak Japanese.
Really?
But
I'm just kidding.
I met one time a Japanese person who had a flawless British accent because they
British
lived in the UK for 10 years.
Okay.
But they did not study English really at all. They just kind of picked it up.
Okay.
But they didn't really know grammar. So because it was a very unique situation, I guess. Because this person's British accent was so good, it sounded like he was from the UK. But because his grammar was so bad, it sounded like he's from the UK, but he's not smart. It doesn't sound like it's his second language. Like, it doesn't sound like English is his second language because he has no accent.
Oh, okay.
It sounds like English is his first language and he's just like not smart. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so.
So like...
So weird though.
I can never have that because people will always know that Japanese is not my first language. But if my accent was perfect, but then I spoke like maybe a middle school student, people might think that, oh, she's like, if I looked Japanese,
sure,
people might think like, oh, they won't think, oh, Japanese is her second language. They'll think, oh, she's just not smart. She's Japanese. And she's So like, I'll never have this problem because I look foreign, so people will always know it's my second language. But maybe if you are living in the UK or living in the US, people might think you're from there and you're just
a dumb person.
So I don't know if like focusing on your accent as the first thing is like
right. So
maybe focus on your grammar first.
No, you're right. That makes sense. It just clicked. No, because here's the thing, right? Because in a way I did the same thing, right? I tried to perfect my accent first by like shadowing a lot.
Yeah.
But then I shadowed like rednecks in Michigan. So, even though your English sounds natural, but the actual words that are coming out of your mouth are kind of dumb, So, and also, if you speak with like a very little to none accent, people will overestimate you. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like you said, people might think you're a native speaker and you say something like maybe you reference something that an American person should know, and it's natural for me to not know. Right. And then they'll go like, "Where you from, man?" Like
what? Why do you not know that? Yeah.
So, yeah, there's definitely downsides to not having accent or like having perfect accent like much early on in your learning journey.
Yeah, I even had that with when I first came here. I really focused on accent when I first started learning Japanese. And I was beginner level, but my accent was so good, and the sentences that I did know, they just sounded really good.
Yeah.
So I would like say these like few sentences that I did know, and people would think like, oh, she's fluent. And they would like be like, someone even asked me like, oh, were you from Okinawa? Like, were your parents on the military base? So I literally had like a Japanese person ask me that when I first started. And then he like zuto went into like native level Japanese, like sing, and I couldn't understand anything. So yeah, since then I've just been focusing more on my like grammar and vocabulary rather than my accent. I do want to improve my accent as well. I think it's important, but maybe focus on a little of everything at once rather than just accent.
That's true. Because here's the thing, right? So you want a Japanese person to like speak to you with like full on Japanese, like how they normally talk. But then I have personally, I have like a very, very hard time talking to a person with like full on Japanese because I have a like thick Shikoku Southern accent. So I'm just afraid that this person is not going to understand me. So like I talk slower, I use like easier vocab, which is not very good for like learning purposes, I feel like. So I think that's like one of the upsides of having more natural accent is that people will feel more comfortable talking to you naturally.
That's so true. I think with you, I feel totally fine speaking natural
thank you.
English. Yeah. But I definitely have Japanese friends who have thicker accents, and I know, like, I feel I should speak more slowly and clearly with them rather than natively because I want them to understand me. And it just kind of happens naturally. You don't even, like, consciously think of it, right?
You don't
You're
really
just
think
like,
about it.
That's just what happens. Yeah, it's interesting.
So I guess at the end of the day, you have to understand like the amount of accent you have will be seen as like indicator of like how much of your level. So as long as you understand that, I think you can like navigate that difficulty.
Yeah. But don't worry too much about it. We're just talking about this because it's a podcast and that's our topic of the day. But like, just enjoy your learning.
That's true.
But on that note, should we move on to the news article of the day?
Sí.
Oh, we're trilingual on this podcast. Okay. Oh, so by the way, if you are new here, so this segment of the podcast, Shota is going to read an article in simple Japanese, and we're going to see how much you guys understand and how much I understand. And after, we'll kind of like summarize it.
Yeah, I got
So,
you.
let's go.
Okay, ready?
はい。
じゃあ行きます。ヤンキー座りって知っていますか？
ヤンキー座り。
ヤンキー座りとは、膝を深く曲げてしゃがむ座り方で、足の裏を床にすべてつけて座ります。はい。で、今、ヤンキー座りができない若者が増えているそうです。はい。Interesting.
面白い。
ヤンキー座りは、欧米では、アジアンスクワット、エイジェンスクワットと呼ばれ、アメリカでは 13.5% の人しかできませんが、そのうち 9% はアジア系です。
すごい。
昔の日本では畳の部屋での正座や和式トイレなどしゃがむ動作が多かったため足首が柔軟でした。しかし生活様式の変化で椅子とテーブル、洋式トイレが一般的になりしゃがみ機会が減りました。調査によると 97.4% の人が洋式トイレを使用しています。この座り方ができないのは足首の関節とふくらはぎの筋肉が硬いことを意味します。足首とふくらはぎが硬いと、膝痛、腰痛、肩こりなどの体の不調につながる可能性もあるとのことです。以上です。That's it.
Okay.
Okay. So how much were you able to understand?
I would say I was able to understand almost everything.
Okay.
I think,
yeah.
The only things I wouldn't be able to like spit back out is the exact percentages of what was going on. But basically, so Yankee Zuari is like this squatting
Can
style.
you do it?
I can do it.
Can you?
Yeah, I can totally do it. I didn't realize it was that rare for Obe no Hito.
Okay. So what was the stats? So only 13.5% of people in the States can do it. But out of those 13.5 people...
90% are Asian.
Yeah, so 9%.
Right?
So like
only 9%. Okay. I thought 90% of the 13%.
Only like 4% of people can do it.
Oh my god, I can do. I didn't know I had a talent. I can do it.
I can't.
You can't.
I can't.
This is so funny. 大型からね。
That's true.
A 型の人できるね。
関係ないでしょ。
But I also do yoga, so I think that's why.
Okay, yeah.
We call it yoga squat in yoga.
Yeah.
I want to show you guys, but there's literally no room to do it. But basically, it's a squat.
Yeah.
And it's like really deep squat.
Yeah.
And usually, Americans can't do it without falling over when they try to do it. And apparently Shota can't do it without falling over.
Yeah, that's because I wrestled in high school and I dislocated my ankle. And I don't know, after that, it just got like, I lost all like ashikubi mobility, flexibility. So, yeah.
Ashikubi is ankle, by the way.
Yeah.
So basically, the article is saying that in Japan, the younger generation, the amount of people who can do this, it's really funny, the word Yankee Zuari. So Yankee is kind of like a delinquent, right? So it's like a delinquent squat, delinquent sitting style, Zuari. Right? Am I saying that right? Zuari.
Yeah, Yankee Zuari.
Yeah, so the number of people in Japan who can do that in the younger generation is kind of like decreasing.
Right. Because?
And the reason is because we don't really use the Japanese style toilets anymore.
Right.
We're using like the Western style toilets.
Yeah.
And also, people aren't sitting in seiza as much. So, they're saying people nowadays have more like tighter ankles.
Yeah.
And so, they're not able to do this Yankee Zuari. So...
Interesting.
Yeah, that's very funny that
you
can't do it.
But my yoga teacher told me, because it's funny, because my company have a gym inside of the office, and then we have like a yoga sessions. We have like a yoga teachers come in and like do like a yoga sessions, and I was doing like a squat, not Asian squat, but like regular, squat with like a barbells and stuff like that. And like she saw me and she goes like this, and like she's like, dude, like you're gonna mess up your knees, you're gonna mess up your lower back if you like keep going like that. And that's because you got like zero ankle mobility, and I'm like guilty, right? Because I know what happened to my ankle, and I was having to I was starting to have like knee problems, too. So I was like, what do I gotta do? And she was like, come to my yoga class. I'll get that fixed for you.
Nice.
So yeah, I think yoga is the answer, or like mobility, having like some mobility is the answer.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, in the article it said that in the US they call it Asian squat.
Asian squat, yeah.
So
it's a thing, yeah.
If you can do yoga, you can probably do this. So you're probably part of the 4% of Obe no hito that can do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Western style toilets, so this is so interesting to me. So as a female, I don't know if it's the same in the men's bathroom, there'll be like a long line for the toilets, and like all of them are Western toilets, and there's like one Japanese style toilet, and no one will go in. They'd rather wait for the Western toilet.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they are still putting Western, if like no one wants this toilet, because I can use the toilet, first of all. I know how to use it properly, and I can use it. I don't like to use it though, because it's not as clean.
No.
Like usually around the toilet there's like stuff.
Yeah, stuff.
And you kind of have to step in the stuff to use the toilet.
Yeah.
Which is not pleasant. And so I see why people don't want to use this toilet. Why do you think they still have them?
I asked my dad the same question.
You had the same question.
Yeah, I had the same question, because nowadays it says 97.4% of people use Western style toilet. He had two reasons, right? So older generation have like better ankle mobility, so like they have no problem using that, and some people even prefer to use Japanese like old-fashioned traditional style toilet, and that's because I don't know how much of this is true, because I'm just referencing my dad.
Okay.
He was saying that that's gonna put you in more like a natural, like a bowel movement position, which makes it easier for you to get that out. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see how that is true, right?
Yeah.
If you're sitting in that squat position, it's probably a better flow position.
But it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't
me.
find it uncomfortable, but it definitely feels less clean, because I recently had to go use the men's room. So I was at a park, and there's the women's room and the men's room. The women's room, each one only had one toilet, so it wasn't like you're in a stall with like other people. But the women's one was out of order, so the only other option was to use the men's toilet, and it was a Japanese style toilet. There was a literal turd right next to it. Someone missed. It's easy to miss.
Yeah.
It was probably a child, but anyway, I see why people don't want to use them.
Yeah. If you're watching this outside Japan, like, and when you come to Japan, like, try to use it once to see like how that feels.
Yeah.
Maybe
in the editing we can like put a picture so people know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Like,
yeah.
Of the toilet situation.
Yeah. But usually they have like bars now to like hold on to.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, in the worst case scenario, you can just like hold on to the bar so that like you don't like fall down. Like
you don't want to fall down.
Yeah, you don't want to fall down now. No. Yeah. Yeah. But also you can just like not do the Asian squat, right? You can just like do like a normal squat
and use that toilet properly. I think you need to do the Asian squat to use the toilet properly. I don't think it's like you're gonna. It's gonna
heighten your position.
There's gonna be splashing.
I'm gonna go into like I'm gonna go into too much details, but like right.
I think you kind of have to.
So that makes it.
It's a little abunai.
Yeah.
I would do the correct squat if you're gonna dare to use those toilets.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like I do it properly too.
And if you can't use the toilet, don't feel bad, because Japanese people don't like to use the toilet too in general.
Yeah.
According to this thing, 97% of people don't want to use the toilet or use Western
Yeah, I mean,
toilet.
that's because the house I grew up in, like, I'm pretty sure people that are maybe like younger than 40 now can understand that, like, people grew up with like Western style toilet, so I mean, we're used to it, and there's no washlet, the bidet, right? Either.
Yeah,
So.
to picture all the magic of the Japanese toilet, the bidet, the heated seat. Like the opposite of that is is the traditional Japanese toilet. Yeah, so
it's a hole. It's a hole in the ground. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else for today?
Question of the day?
Yeah, let's do question of the day. Our question was, what do you have to do to prepare for natural disasters in your home when living in Japan?
Okay, so I think there are mainly 3 things that you can do, and one, which is the easiest but costs the most, is that you go onto Amazon.com and type in like earthquake survival kit, and they give you like a whole backpack.
Yeah, with everything
In it.
Did you watch my video on that, unpacking it?
No, this is like something that pretty much all Japanese people know.
Okay.
Yeah. To admit, I don't have one because when I moved, I think I lost it, or like maybe like I got rid of it, thinking maybe like I'm gonna get a new one, but I haven't. So I probably should.
Yeah.
So that's one thing you can do, and 2 is to know where your like evacuation spot is. So every single address in Japan is designated to a wide open space, because wide open space is the safest place to be in a time of earthquake, because there's nothing
that can fall on you.
So it's usually like elementary school ground, or like a baseball ground, or like a nearby park or something. But when you move into your apartment, you're like handed the like a packet thing where like all the maps and stuff like that, and it's written there. So when you move into your apartment, check that out.
Yeah, I would recommend like looking at the map and actually like walking there and like going, so you know how to get there, because when there is a natural disaster, you don't want to go looking through your papers to find the map. Like, it's not going to happen. You need to get out quickly usually, or a lot of times. So that's something I need to do, because I got the map and I just shoved it in a folder and it's over there somewhere.
So for me, it's like a nearby middle school.
Okay.
So
probably a school.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a school. And the third thing is downloading an app called Nerve.
Yeah.
NERV. If you have watched Evangelion, it's the name of the organization that makes EVAs. But they have an app for like natural disasters, so they'll alarm you for like storms and like earthquakes and stuff like that, and like when earthquake happens,
also just gives you the weather.
So I think those are the main 3 things that you can do like right away. Do you have anything to add?
I think those are the 3 important things. For the backpack, if you don't buy it on Amazon, so I actually did buy one on Amazon when I lived in Kochi.
Okay.
And I did a whole video where I like took everything out. So I thought that's what you were referencing. And I like showed everything that was in the bag. I unfortunately lost that when I moved. I don't have one anymore. Cheaper, you can go like buy each thing individually at like a dollar store. Like a Daiso will have everything that you need, almost everything that you need. Or you can order stuff on Amazon. I think something that wasn't in that kit that you can do that's a little extra is you can go to Daiso and get stuff to earthquake-proof your apartment with furniture. Like stuff that will hold your furniture in place even if there's a bad earthquake. Like I have so much breakable stuff on my shelves. Like if there's an earthquake, like I should secure all of that. I think it's important to also have emergency food and water. So that will be in your emergency backpack if you get one. But it's good to have even more, I think. Like you need to be able to survive, I think they say 3 days. With food and water. I don't have any of that stuff in place right now. I want to make a whole video where I like go to Daiso and like try to buy everything. I think
make
that would
like
be
a checklist or something.
A video / guide on exactly what to get. So,
I think other thing is that sometimes your company or the municipality you have, sometimes they offer like this like a little truck where like you get to experience like a big, like a massive earthquake and stuff like that. I was like, like why would you do it? You know, like
Earthquake simulation.
Yeah, like an earthquake simulation. Like I didn't really get the point of it until I did that.
Yeah.
It completely changed your perception on what it like to be in like a massive earthquake.
Yeah.
It's completely different level. You know, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's what it means to be in a situation where like massive earthquake is happening. So like you're better equipped mentally after you going through that. So if you ever get a chance to do it, I would recommend you do it.
Yeah, I did have a chance when I was in language school.
Yeah.
They took us to they took us to like the natural disaster center.
Yeah.
That had an earthquake simulator. I actually didn't go though.
Oh my god.
I had something to do that day, but I wish I went.
Yeah. But I think like a lot of places offered stuff like that.
Yeah,
right?
you could just go to the like natural disaster center and like experience it yourself.
Yeah, I mean it's not a must, but I think it's good to know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think when you first move to Japan, like the first time you feel an earthquake, you're like, but then like after the third time, you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you might get kind of jaded, and you won't know. I guess you will know the difference when it's a really bad one, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced like a really big one?
Okay, so when March 11 happened, like I was in Michigan.
Okay.
So like I've heard that. It was actually I'm not gonna use the word funny because it wasn't funny, but like it was kind of interesting how it was like portrayed in the States, because like you see all the like news clips, and like the people that I was living with, they were like, yo, like I think you're like Japan's done, because
Oh my god.
yeah, but like I wouldn't blame them, because
The way the news
the
was
whole
like.
coast was like crashed with the
Yeah.
wave and everything, and I called my dad right away, and he was like so drunk that night.
Oh my god.
No, because I'm from the south, and the earthquake happened in the north.
Yeah, so it's like not really.
So actually, I got the news before him.
Before,
Yeah, he was like, "What are you talking about, man? You know, like I want to go to bed. You know." So
Oh my god.
yeah,
So your dad didn't even know. Your family was fine.
yeah, they were fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that happens too. Anytime there's like a big earthquake, like so many of my family and friends, they don't know like the geography of Japan.
Yeah.
So they'll think that like I'm in danger,
Yeah.
but like I'm nowhere near the epicenter. I did experience one big one in Kochi. It wasn't like huge, like it wasn't like nothing happened.
Okay.
But it was like a 5. So it was like strong.
Yeah.
And I was like scared because I was like, I started getting used to the earthquakes at that point. Actually, not really, because in Kochi, we don't really have that many.
Kochi's more like typhoon prefecture.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of storms.
Is
go through
Ehime
there.
the same?
Ehime is the same. So Ehime, I think, not as bad as Kochi, but yeah, I think we get like okay amount of earthquake, okay amount of storms. I think.
Yeah, I think Kochi didn't have that many earthquakes. So like when we had that big one, it was like Kyushu and Kochi were like the most affected. It was scary. I like went under the table. I was like, I don't know what to do. I think I'm
Yeah.
supposed to go under the table. What do you do? Do you know what you're supposed to do? Like, do you go under a table? Like if there's an actual big dangerous one.
So
Run outside? Like what's
the first thing I do would like put on socks, because I mean you might have to like live outside for like a longer period of time, and like having
I mean, like when it strikes, like
Oh,
what's
when
your
it
first? Like,
strikes?
do you go under the table? Like, what do you? Where do you? Like, if there's a giant, like bad earthquake.
Okay, so if I had to act like on the spot,
Yeah.
like I'll go underneath of something firm, like a table or like
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah, maybe under this.
I think they can see it, right? Yeah, something like this. I live in such a tiny apartment, and like my bed is like super low. Like I have nothing to go under. So the second best thing you can do is to open the window, right? Because once
Escape route.
right, to what's it called, like an escaping route, right? Because the building starts to collapse, it's gonna like change the form of the window frame, and like a lot of people will have like problem like crashing the window, or either like a door or window. Like I would like open that.
Okay, so open your windows or door so you have an escape route, and go under a table to protect your head.
Yeah, and if you have like spare time, you know, like put on like clothes and shoes.
Yeah, I keep that in mind too. Like, yeah, I don't want to like run out in my inappropriate pajamas. So like I keep like some extra clothes. Like, you know, it's hot now. There's very little clothes when you're sleeping. So I have stuff so I don't have to like run out in my underwear. So yeah, I guess that would be our best. We are not experts.
No.
Look up what to do.
Yeah, look
like,
up what to do.
Don't make this your like all of your advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all for today.
I think that's it.
Again, we have not. This is going to be the last podcast. I think that's not released. So yeah, we haven't like released them yet. So we're going to release the first one soon. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you'd like to submit a question yourself, please give us an email at kotatsuclubpodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Bye.
I'll see you guys next time. Bye.